my team have been working with residents across the Spectrum Group since the Isle of Wight conference back in 2008. We're really encouraged that the outcome of that first conference was that residents across the group wanted to come together, form a group-wide body that would work alongside the group board and staff to improve services for residents. In the early days, we formed a working group and residents themselves decided what they wanted this group to do and what it should look like. They took a lead role in the recruitment and the group really came together for the first time as a team in July 2009. And it's really been working at a terrific pace since that point. Myself as the group's facilitator and other board members and staff were actually quite surprised that the group identified value for money as the first scrutiny topic that they wanted to take on, because it's absolutely massive. It's a massive area of the business. However, their rationale for that was that money is really important to residents. It's an essential part of how we deliver services and use tenants' rents. Also, it's a regulatory requirement, and for the group itself, it's absolutely critical to our ongoing financial strength and stability. However, I think taking on such a massive scrutiny project was a real testament to the group. They brought incredible enthusiasm, commitment and skills to this scrutiny topic, and have actually done a very robust scrutiny exercise and have come up with some really good findings, which the group board will be talking to them about in terms of developing an action plan that will be delivered in the next 12 months or so.
The SRG started our value for money scrutiny exercise by first looking at the Spectrum Housing Group's 5-year corporate plan. We wanted to make sure that there were sufficient resources in place to deliver all of the commitments in it on a year-by-year basis.
The corporate plan includes some key value for money initiatives. In other words, targets to make sure that Spectrum saves money and it is efficient wherever it can be. Value for money is also important as it is a regulatory requirement and savings can be ploughed back into the business, straight to the frontline projects. Having identified value for money as the key part of the Spectrum corporate plan that we wanted to scrutinise, we developed a scrutiny project in 2 stages. Just the fact that it was a far bigger project than we ever first envisaged, and we were warned that this was going to be a big project, but nevertheless we stuck to it and we feel as though we've achieved an awful lot.
The first stage involved members auditing their own housing associations against the Audit Commission's key lines of inquiry, to see how the business match up to the performance requirements of excellent organisations. But we actually scrutinised their performance to match and to see what equality and inequalities are flagged up across the group.
The SRG discovered that in their investigation that there were just 3 areas of inequalities, which were service charges, responsive repairs and value for money logging.
The first area that the SRG examined was service charges. And the best practice that we identified was some residents benefit from clear itemised service charge statements. The areas that need improvement, we found, no consistent quality for regular service charge, itemised statements or methods by which residents can get help and raise queries. Service charge costs vary widely across the group.
Something that the SRG are looking to recommend is that leaseholders with Western Challenge set up a new pilot scheme where they have regular quarterly meetings and half-yearly meetings with the residents to discuss budgets and service charges, and they scrutinise their own charges and have itemised service charge accounts. This has reduced the complaint levels on overcharging for services. What we're recommending is that perhaps this can be looked at to be put as a group-wide initiative for both general needs and other schemes, so that they have more itemised and detailed service charge accounts, which will eliminate a lot of the complaints. Another recommendation put forward when Western Challenge residents did an inspection with Access and Customer Care was the possibility of having a communal account for each scheme that would show the log of all service charges on responsive repairs, so that all residents can have a look on an ongoing basis what responsive repairs they're being charged for, and then they have a chance to come back and query them.
The next issue was the repair service and maintenance service. Customer satisfaction surveys, there's not a lot to complain about. It was well over the 90% of efficiency, which was a very good starting point. One of the areas we found there was a glaring difference was perhaps the in-house maintenance service as against the out-house maintenance service, in as much as you can obviously keep a better control of costs when it's an in-house organisation, as long as you can keep the efficiency levels at as high as possible. And we would perhaps recommend that that Spectrum Housing perhaps looks in more detail at bringing more in-house repairs into the group.
So what are the areas of improvement that we should be looking at? Despite operatives having handheld computers to report finishing jobs, it has come to a point that we still feel invoicing is taking a terribly long time to come through after the jobs have been completed. Multi-skilled staff are very, very difficult to recruit, which means that in certain instances on vacant and void properties, we could have as many as 5 vans turn up outside a property, which is damaging the public relations of the group, and we feel this could be looked at and improved on. We feel that some testing should be taken on the out-of-hours service that is offered, because we don't feel it is being used properly, and maybe we could use some mystery shopping to improve matters. Some residents in sheltered housing or independent living have difficulty in using this service, and perhaps we could look at ways of improving this. Perhaps we would like to test this by introducing a system where staff are actually offering all the options available rather than just 1 or 2.
In the SRG, we have found that there are schemes that have problems with new heating systems that have been fitted, which require, if there is a power cut or a breakdown of any sort, then an external heating engineer needs to be called in. This is a difficult problem to resolve.
Residents and our group recognise that value for money works both ways, and it's not just on the organisation but on us as individuals. And we do feel there's a cost implication when people keep missing appointments, and this needs to be looked at more thoroughly as well.
Another strong recommendation from the SRG concerns telephone surveys on repairs and maintenance. We strongly suggest that a password system be introduced so that residents realise it is the housing association calling them and not outsiders.
The tenant void inspections across Western Challenge and Medina have been working very well over the last 12 months. We strongly recommend that this is rolled out right across the whole group, so everybody has the same.
Choice-based lettings is another problematical area. At the moment, we are having problems in the group of actually reletting voids because of there appears to be a hold-up with councils. So we intend to look into the reasons for this.
The third area that we looked at for scrutiny was for the value for money logging. The best practice identified was a good standard of efficiency planning found across the Spectrum Group, and evidence that there is a commitment to embedding value for money principles. Areas that need improvement are: not all staff are involved in logging value for money, and the quality of the logs across the group is variable. Spectrum Group recommendations are: Spectrum should consider using Bigfoot as a more effective portal for staff to present big ideas and to log value for money savings, however small. Operatives and staff should carry feedback cards to enable residents to make suggestions on improving the service on a day-to-day basis. A method through which residents can make value for money suggestions should be introduced in the new community forums.
Well, what happens next with our value for money scrutiny exercise that we've just carried out? We intend to report our findings now to senior staff, the value for money steering group and the group board, but most importantly as well to you, the residents. We are confident that in some of the areas that we've investigated that these are already being implemented within the group. But we do want to see, to work alongside the staff and the group board to form an action plan and a way forward on our findings of the other areas we've identified. We will then need to monitor this action plan over the next 12 months or so and ongoing into the future to make sure that what we are recommending is considered and implemented in most cases that they're able to do so. These must be adhered by the timescales that we would like to bring in on these areas of improvement that is most needed, and we hope then that we will report back the progress made to residents through our newsletters and through the website and in any other way that we possibly can.